For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we got the release of 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. We got episode 5 and episode 6. Now, episode 5 I will speak about very, very quickly because really, as far as the overall plot of the show goes, it adds absolutely nothing. And the irony is that even though this episode is completely filler, is going to have the most number of people backing it. Because they're going to be like, even though this episode was filler, it showed this about Matt and all this. And yes, of course, this didn't anger me as much as it should have because I love Matt as a character. And honestly, he's one of the very few characters who I actually prefer their civilian form to their superhero form. So, yeah, it was cool seeing Matt kind of just be himself in that situation of the bank robbery, which was very The Dark Knight-esque. And I'm not just saying that because, of course, it's a bank robbery. But, yeah, just that whole thing was interesting. Bringing in, Miss Marvel's dad. I haven't seen Miss Marvel. I don't care to watch Miss Marvel. It looks like some sort of 2010s like Disney Channel, oh my god, Disney Channel movie. It actually looks worse than Descendants, and I love Descendants, but yeah, it looks terrible. And the fact that they have a Funko Pop of her in universe to me is just hilarious. But yeah, this episode didn't really add much, so let's just get to episode 6 because that is really where all the awesome stuff is. I love how I spent 1 minute talking about episode 5. And I would also like to say that I was completely wrong. This is so embarrassing. Because I said in every single Daredevil Born Again review so far that ever since the release schedule was revealed for this show, that I knew that because episode 5 and 6 were going to drop on the same day, I was like, okay, at the end of episode 4, they're going to sort of tease the Punisher, maybe have him show up for one scene. And then obviously, episode 5 is going to be his episode. Nope. And not even episode 6 was his episode, so I was just completely wrong. But episode 6 was... wow. Wow. This, honestly... But episodes 3, 4, and 6 were all just so good. Let's just start off talking about the best part about it, and that is Muse. Muse is a character which I have been really interested to see how they're gonna adapt into live action, because of course, even though there's been a fair amount of violence in this show, and of course Deadpool and Wolverine, this is still Disney. So the idea of a serial killer who makes street art out of human blood is it's still a bit much. It still feels like it's a bit much for Disney, but damn, this dude is a straight up horror villain, and I absolutely love it. I know I probably spoke about him in the last episode. I think episode 4 at the end and the beginning he was teased. But in this episode, they really sort of emphasize it now because they show it at the beginning, all the street art and all that, and you see, of course, the guy from the previous episode from episode 4, who was getting drained of his blood. You can see his eyes and lack of eyes and things like that. That's really creepy. And then they reveal that they found about 20 murals, each one having 5 people's blood, meaning that he has over 60 victims. And what I loved about this is, of course, this is the episode where, I will get to it, but this is, of course, the episode where Daredevil comes back. But what I love about them emphasizing that 60 people have been killed by this man is that had Matt not given up the mantle of Daredevil, not the mantle, but had he not given up that persona, those 60 people might have still been alive. And that, to me, it's brilliant. It is so, so good. And can we also just acknowledge that Muse's design, I think has got to be the one of the best comic book villain designs I have ever seen. It is so simple and yet it is absolutely glorious. Just the idea that his entire suit, well, his mask at least, but it looks to be his entire suit, is made of the canvas. That is so cool. And then, of course, you have the blood tears, which, of course, I think of Halloween 2, which is when Michael Myers gets shot in the eyes and then the blood runs down his face. But here, he looks absolutely terrifying, especially that scene where the two girls walk up to him and, they're like, "Oh, are you Muse? Can we get a picture of you?" And he just turns around and their screams just echo. Oh my god, Muse is fucking horrifying and I love it. I'm so happy that they didn't kill him off. I hope they don't kill him off because this is a dude who really needs to stay for a long time. I don't think that this is gonna be like a quick, like a one and done guy. This needs to be like Nobu. I don't know why I picked Nobu. I think just because he was only killed at the end of season 2. But you need to have him be there for a while. You can't kill off such a violent character and such a creepy character so quickly. But yeah, it was awesome just seeing this dude just do his thing, and my god was it horrifying at the same time. So yeah, I loved everything to do with Muse in this episode. I thought that he was easily the standout. And talking about Matt, this is where Hector Ayala's niece does go to him, and she's like, okay, he was investigating these missing people over here, which I love how they brought that back. And then she goes there herself and gets captured by Muse. That was creepy as hell. And that's when Matt just goes, fuck it. And then he just puts on the suit. I will be honest, I wish that we had gotten a more grand look at the suit, because the first time we see it is just him swinging. I feel like they could have done like a cool close up or something, or him putting it on. But anyway, it was still cool finally seeing Daredevil return. And honestly, I don't mind it. I don't mind that we haven't seen him for the last 5 episodes, because I love Matt Murdock. I think Charlie Cox just has this sense of charm to him, this charisma, that I don't care if he's in the Daredevil costume or not. So, yeah, just seeing Daredevil again was so cool. And, the hand-to-hand combat between him and Muse, oh my god, it was so amazing. Captain America Brave New World, take notes. I mean, it's too late for you, but, for future reference, take notes. My god, that scene was amazing. But of course, you cannot talk about Matt this episode without talking about the other side of the coin, and that is Mr. Fisk. Of course, throughout the episode, mainly in episode 4, we saw Daredevil and Kingpin slowly creep through their new personas, this act they've been putting on. Well, it's not really an act, it's kind of who they've been trying to be. But Kingpin, this was just insane. I loved what they did with him here. And of course, he did lose weight in that first episode when he shows up at the meeting that Vanessa's having with all the guys. You can see how small he looks. But Vincent D'Onofrio did say that Kingpin will be gaining weight. And I love that they made that a part of his character. And I even said it in the last episode that when he, goes down to where Adam is, you just see him eating how he wants to. No, like, yolkless, well, just egg whites and things like that. None of that. No. There's sausages, there's macaroni, there's everything like that. And then in this episode, when he's getting ready for his, like, meeting or whatever, not meeting, but, whatever it was, he puts the suit on, and it rips. And then he's like, "It appears my suits don't fit me like they used to." And I'm like, okay, you didn't need to say it. We can see it, but it's still cool, showing that maybe he'll get the size of Spider-Verse Kingpin. Could you imagine? It's so freaking dumb. But honestly, I'm just so excited to see Kingpin return. Well, I say I'm excited to. Kingpin has returned. Mayor Fisk has taken a back seat because I think his name was Luca, the guy that just showed up in his office and told Wilson Fisk, told Wilson Fisk to take the 1.8 and shove it up his ass. No, 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 no. This guy is gonna get the most brutal death in the entire MCU history. You think the car door was bad? No, no, no. This dude is gonna get it way worse because anyone who speaks to Kingpin in that way, you're lucky you survived 5 seconds because that is absolutely insane the way that he said that. So I'm excited to see Kingpin tear him apart. And then, of course, you have the scene of him at the gala or whatever, where you really just see him kind of just sit there in boredom and just try and make a case for himself against these people. One of which is Lalo Salamanca. It is Tony Dalton. It is, I think his name is Jack. It's Eleanor's husband from Hawkeye. The swordsman, I think he's called. And, I don't really remember what he did in Hawkeye as far as a job goes, but here he just does not seem like the same character at all. But, I can't really blame him because he was arrested because of Fisk. It was Fisk who told Eleanor to frame him and things like that. So, it makes sense that he doesn't like Fisk at all. So that lines up perfectly. And then you have him assembling the anti-vigilante task force. And this, I think, was a really cool part of the episode because I just love listening to the way he articulates his words. Like when he's talking to, I think it was the Commissioner Gallo, I think his name was. That was a bad voice crack. And he's like, some people prefer the term gangs. I prefer motivated individuals. I'm like, this fucking guy, man. It's so brilliant, honestly. And even when he is talking to all of them, he's like, you're part of this because, you're great at getting results. And that is just really cool because, of course, it's all the dirty cops, all the people who are using Frank's logo and things like that. So that's really cool. But what I'm interested to see is even though Kingpin and Matt are two sides of the same coin, are they going to end up having to work together in order to take down Muse? Because that would be absolutely insane to me. Of course, very different reasons. But yeah, I honestly wouldn't put it past either. I wouldn't put it past Fisk or Matt to work with the other, because Fisk, for the most part, is a man who keeps his word. The only time I think he's ever gone against his own word is when he tried to have Frank killed in prison in season 2. So yeah, I feel like most of the time he is a man of his word. So if he wants to work with Matt in order to take down Muse, I would believe him. So yeah, that would be really, really cool. And just, I want to see what this anti-vigilante task force is going to do, especially when it comes to Punisher. Because, bro, Punisher is going to punish all your asses for what you're doing to his logo. But of course, the most important thing about Kingpin in this episode is him going down to Adam with an axe. And, I just loved this entire sequence. This scene, until the end of the episode, is just absolute perfection. Because you have him giving this monologue to Adam, where, I say a monologue, it's more of a speech. The speech to Adam where, he's like, oh, we're locked. You shared, we're locked in cages. You and I share the same experience, and it's like, you can kind of see, it depends on your interpretation, because of course Fisk is saying that they share the experience as in locked in cages. But of course you could also see it as they both shared Vanessa. And I'll be honest, when I saw Fisk going down there with an axe, I was like, oh my god, he's gonna cut his hands off. Because obviously Vanessa said that she loves his hands, but no, he says that when he was smaller, he took down men like 3 times his size, and a tool can be a great equalizer. And I love that because, of course, that's how he killed his father. You know, he knocked him on, I say knocked him, he smacked him on the head with a hammer. And, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, that's probably one of the most deserving deaths in the entirety of Marvel, is Kingpin's father. But anyway, and that leads to him giving Adam the axe and watching this absolute beatdown occur because it is perfectly intercut with the fight between Daredevil and Muse. My God, this was absolutely amazing. I loved it. Daredevil throwing Muse and Kingpin, you know, throwing Adam into the ceiling. Freaking like the headbutting intercut genuinely made me cheer. I would never cheer for just a simple intercutting sequence like that, but my God, it was done beautifully. And the way that Kingpin screams, "Mine!" That felt like Daredevil Kingpin. That didn't feel like MCU, like 2021 onwards Kingpin. That felt like Netflix Kingpin. And my God, it was so good to just hear him scream like that, to hear him punching Adam in the face and the blood spilling everywhere. Him, you know, freaking throwing Adam into a wall. I have no clue how Adam is still alive, you know, having his face thrown into that wall and that wall breaking. But I will be honest, that first hit was incredibly like that. I don't think it was CGI. If it was CGI, I wouldn't have been surprised because it looks like it's CGI. You know, because Kingpin just turns around and just hits Adam so quickly, and Adam just goes flying across the room. It looked really dumb. So that's my like only criticism of it. But another really cool shot that I loved is when Daredevil like hits Muse down one of them many times, and Muse is on his back. But then the camera like follows his face as he turns around onto his stomach and chest. My God, that is such a cool shot. I love it. And again, I'm so happy they didn't kill off Muse. Everything about this dude is perfect. The way that the red lights of the train kind of reflected off his eyes, the blood tears, the beanie as well, I think is a cool look. And he just looks so terrifying. I love him. And it was just so good seeing Kingpin and Daredevil return after 5 episodes of Mayor Fisk and Matthew Murdock. Because again, I love the show. I really do. And I don't know. I'm just hoping that they don't fumble it by the finale. Because I know that season 2 is filming, but I want at least some storylines from this season to be wrapped up by episode 9. So yeah, episode 6 of Daredevil Born Again is probably the best one yet. I really loved this episode. There were just so many things about it that were just amazing. You know, you got some hilarious moments, you got some freaking terrifying moments, and just some cheer-worthy moments, you know. Episode 5, like really, who cares? It's not a bad episode. It's just the one that, you know, there's not really much to talk about. You know, I mean, obviously that did kind of spoil who the hero is going to be because we knew that there was going to be a hero in Daredevil Born Again as a little cameo, and I feel like it's pretty obvious it's going to be Miss Marvel. They did it at the end of She-Hulk, having Matt show up at the lunch table with Jennifer and all that. And the same thing is going to happen at the end of this season. You know, he's going to go to Yusuf and Kamala's house, and they're going to have lunch there. That's 100% what's going to happen. Or supper, whatever it was. But, yeah. Please, just let me know your thoughts on these episodes of Daredevil Born Again. Where do you think these things are going to go? And do you think next episode will be where we see the return of the Punisher? Anything and everything, just let me know your guys' thoughts on these episodes down in the comment section below. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So, if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.